We are going to move on to subtracting positive and negative integers today. So how is subtracting integers like adding integers? We can rewrite any problem to be an addition problem. So if you're given 5 minus 3, we can rewrite it as 5 plus a negative 3. So a minus and plus a negative are the exact same thing. So you can rearrange the middle part to make it easier for yourself. Whichever one makes more sense to you, go ahead and change the problems to look like that. So if there are plus and negatives, like this is right here, but this problem makes more sense to you, go ahead and change that out. All right, so how do you write a subtraction problem as an addition problem? So we're going to rewrite these two examples here as addition. So like I just said, this minus sign is also the same thing as plus a negative. So we could have 4 plus a negative 4. And this one minus a 3, that minus could turn into plus a negative 3. Okay, so a minus sign and a negative sign are really meaning the same thing. Let's go ahead and solve these. Well, I have 4 plus a negative 4. So if I have $4 and I spend $4, I'm not going to have anything left. And the second one, if I have $1 and I spend 3, I still owe $2. Okay. So if the money is not making sense to you, the other thing that you can do is if they are different signs, both of these problems are different signs, you have one positive and one negative, you can subtract the bigger number, ignore the negative signs, subtract the bigger number, and then minus the smaller number, and then go back and figure out which number was bigger and give your answer that sign. So for instance, 4 and negative 4. I'm going to ignore that negative. I'm going to do 4 minus 4 is 0. 0 is not positive or negative, so my answer is 0. I'm leaving that alone. But for the 1 and the negative 3, I'm going to ignore the negative. I have a 1 and a 3. So I'm going to flip that around, and I'm actually going to do 3 minus 1, which is 2. And I'm going to go back to my problem. The 3 was my bigger number. What sign did that 3 have? It was negative, so then my answer is going to be negative. All right, and then I put this little snippet here of if they have the same sign, we're going to add them and keep the sign. So if you have two positive numbers, you just add them and your answer is positive. If you have two negative numbers and you're adding them, add them together and give it a negative sign since both of them are negative. And then for the different sign, we're going to subtract and then take the sign of the number most represented, or in other words, the bigger number. Okay. So right here, we have a 3 and a negative 12. I'm going to ignore the negative sign. I'm really going to do 12 minus 3. 12 is bigger, and that is equal to 9. And since the 12 is bigger, I'm going to go back to my original problem and notice that 12 is negative, so my answer is negative. Okay? So those are the rules for subtraction. If that's kind of confusing to you and the money is making sense, absolutely go with the money story. So this would be the 3 is positive, so you have $3. The 12 is negative, so you're trying to spend 12. You don't have enough money, so your answer is going to be negative. How much more money do you need? You need $9 more, so negative 9 is your answer. So either way to think about it, whichever one makes most sense to you, please use that. All right, let's take a second and do some practice problems here. The first one is negative 1 minus 5. So I could rewrite that as negative 1 plus a negative 5. And we have the same signs. They're both negative. So my little picture from above said if they had the same signs, go ahead and add them. So 1 plus 5 is 6, and then give them the sign of both numbers. Both numbers are negative, so my answer is negative. Or you owe $1 and you owe another $5, so you owe a total of $6. Then I have 2 minus 14. I could rewrite that as 2 plus a negative 14. They're different signs, so I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to subtract. I'm going to ignore the negative sign for a second, and I'm going to do the big number minus the little number, and I'm going to get 12. Then 14 was my biggest number, so I'm going to go back and look. What sign was in front? It's a negative sign, so my answer is negative. Money terms, the 2 is positive, so you have $2. The 14 is negative, so you're trying to spend 14. You have 2 and you want to spend 14, you're going to need 12 more dollars, so it's a negative 12. And negative 34 minus 21. You don't necessarily have to rewrite them with plus a negative sign. You could just treat this minus sign as a negative. So you have a negative 34 and you have a negative 21. So they're both negative, and you could add them together. So 34 plus 21 is 55. And they're both negative, so I have a negative answer. Or you owe $34 and you owe $21, so you're going to owe a total of $55. One last problem. It's a word problem. It says Renee is playing a game online. If she gets a total of 25 points, she will have a new high score. She currently has negative 5 points. What is the difference between a high score of 25 points and the number of points she currently has? So difference is a key word here. Difference means I'm going to subtract. Okay, and they say, what is the difference between a high score of 25 and the number of points she currently has? She currently has negative 5 points. So we're going to subtract negative 5. So there is, and you could put parentheses around there to kind of separate those two negative signs if you wanted to. And then we have 25 minus a negative 5. If I have minus a negative together in the middle, I can make those make a positive sign or a plus. So two negatives in the middle can turn into a plus. So this problem is really 25 plus 5, which would be equal to 30. So what's the difference between the high score that she wants to get of 25 points and where she's currently at, negative 5? There's a difference of 30 points there. The other way to kind of think about it is she's down here at negative 5 and 0 is somewhere here, around here, and she wants to make it up here to 25. So you could think about how far would it be to go up to 0? Well, that would be 5 up. And then how far from 0 up to 25? Well, that would be another 25 up. So she would have to go a total of 30 spots up to get to her 25. So just another way to think about it.